Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining today's webinar. My name is IK, and it's good to have you all here. I'm not alone here. I'm here with my colleague, Musa. I think Musa just went off the video now, but I'm sure that he's going to be joining back. Okay, great. Musa is back, so Musa will be supporting me with the questions and also any other logistics on the floor. I just want to say thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Today, we'll be talking about educator and subject profiling. And we actually sent this invite to a different level of designation. I know here we have educators, we have principals, we have curriculum officials and subject advisors. We also have the circuit management, so circuit managers and those that work within that directorate. So we're actually going to look at educator and subject profiling. And immediately, let's go to how the session is going to run. If you are a frequent attendee in our webinars, I'm sure you'll understand what we're actually going to be talking about because we do this every time when we start the session. But if you're new, please kindly pay attention, or you can read through to understand how this webinar is actually going to run. If you lose your signal during this webinar and leave the session, please do not worry. You can click the link and rejoin the session as soon as your connection is restored. However, if you still struggle to get your connection restored, please do not worry. At the end or approximately 24 hours after the presentation, all attendees that registered would receive the attendance register, the link to the recording, and the presentation slide. That is the presentation deck that is actually going to be sending, will be coming across your way approximately 24 hours. Also, if you have any questions during the course of this webinar, please, colleagues, engage with the Q&A button that can be found below your screen. Just click on it and engage with your question, comment, and contribution on the chat during the presentation. Also, if you have engaged and your chat on the Q&A was answered and not clear to your understanding, please kindly raise your hand during the Q&A, which is actually towards the end of the presentation, and you'll be given access to speak. However, know that this session is for 1 hour, so we would actually gauge the time, but I'm sure that we might not be able to exhaust everyone that is raising their hand. Also, please note that every attendee is on mute, but however, if ever occur and you find out that you joined and you're not on mute, kindly mute yourself, and this would help us avoid disturbances during the webinar. Last but not the least, we value your feedback, so please take out time. The poll is going to be sent out a few minutes, maybe 10 minutes before the end of this session. Please engage with the poll colleagues because we value your feedback and we put your feedback into consideration when we are planning for subsequent webinar. Last but not the least, also, the webinar is actually in our YouTube channel, the DDD YouTube channel. Please engage that. There are also other how-to videos that would also assist you when you go to our DDD YouTube channel. Moving right along, the topic for today, as I said, is educator and subject profiling. So we are asking, what is our learning objective? At the end of the day, we'll be able to understand the role of the principal at the school, right? Second is understand how to profile subject. Remember, the principal can profile subject that needs support or subject that he feels needs support, right? And this also must be guided by data from the dashboard. Also, at the circuit level, the circuit manager can also profile subjects to know which are the subjects that require support. And you know that most of the time, when the circuit manager finds this out, he engages with the curriculum official, which is the subject advisor, to say, can you support? Also, at a curriculum level, they can also profile the subject they support. So that's why this is actually beneficial to all these designation that I've just mentioned now. Also, the last but not the least is also how to profile educators. And also, it's also still beneficial to everyone that I've just mentioned, be it the principal, be it the circuit manager or those at circuit management, and also be it the curriculum or those at the curriculum level. Okay, so at the end of this, we are hoping, however, it's 1 hour, but we are hoping that you'll be able to understand the process of how to profile subject and how to profile educator. Now, what is the purpose of profiling? We talk about profiling. What is the purpose? At a principal level, we are just giving you 5 points. It's not limited to this, but this is just what we put, and this is at a principal level, right? Now, for this, it says purpose of profiling is to assist the principal to use the dashboards to profile their schools, subject, and educator. The next one is to assist in identifying subject with incomplete curriculum coverage. It also assists the principal in identifying subject that needs intervention, also in identifying educators that needs assistant. It also assists in formulating an APIP, which is the academic performance improvement plan. And this is at a principal level. Now we are going to look at the roles of the principal. Remember, I'm not going to read everything because of time. We have just 1 hour. My eyes always keep going to the time, right? So the roles of the principal, one of them is implementation of all educational programs and curriculum activity, also management of all educator and support staff. It's also performance of function delegated to him or her by the head of department in this act. Also for safe keeping of all school records, the implementation of policy and legislation. As I said, I'm not going to read everything. The role of the principal is also to attend and participate in all meetings of the governing body, also to assist the governing body in handling disciplinary matters pertaining to learners. Let's go to the other slide. Remember, this pack is also going to be sent to you so you can read up everything. The role of the principal also entails informing the governing body about policy and legislation, reports any maladministration or mismanagement of financial matters to the governing body of the school and to the head of department, right? Now we go to the first part. Remember, this is going to be in 2 parts. The first one is subject profiling, while the second one is educator profiling. But we have to start with the subject before we tie the subject performance to the educator. So it goes in that flow, right? So if you are a circuit manager, if you are a principal, if you are a curriculum official subject advisor, please just understand the process. You might not necessarily use maybe the grade or the subject that I'm using. You just need to understand the process that I'm going to go through so you can actually navigate in those process, right? Now let's start. First of all, when you want to talk about subject profiling, we don't go straight to the subject. We first of all look at the task, the syllabus coverage, what has been planned at the beginning of the term to be what the educator, the HOD, and the principal during the planning of the curriculum, the syllabus, what needs to be administered to the school. That planning, how far did it go towards the end or before the end of the term? Was the content completed? Was the syllabus covered, right? That is the first step. And that is why we put together this to guide us when we look at this. And we call it task mark. But on the dashboard, you will see it's called task mark captured. That is the task that has been administered to the learner per subject, per grade. So you can view it in per grade and you can view it in per subject. Now you can look at the task coverage per grade and the task coverage per subject. Now, the dashboard makes us to go, back in time. Now we can say, okay, we are now maybe in term 1, term 2, but you can still go back to last year to different terms. Remember, if you have not captured those terms, you will not be able to view data on them. So if your school did not submit as in when due, you cannot go back in time. It's only schools that have historical data that can go back in time. So this is what a little exercise that you can do, and you will be shocked the kind of analysis that you would get here. Now, what you need to do is you can edit this. So when you get this pack or the slides, you can edit this, change it to the grade that is attainable at your school, right? When you put it, then you can go straight to term 1. Maybe you are in term 2, term 3. You can just go back from the dashboard at that icon by the right on the black bar. You just click on it. It will tell you, do you want to go back in term or back in year? You can decide what you want to do. So you can just do this little exercise. Term 1, you put the grade down. Term 2, you put the task mark coverage, syllabus coverage, right? So it tells you what is the percentage. It's being shown in percentage. You put term 1, term 2, term 3, term 4. You might say, okay, you don't want to look at all the term. Remember, this is an example, but we will say, what is your target? What are you actually trying to do? So it's based on what you're trying to do that your the template would help you. Are you trying to look at just term 1 and term 2? Are you even trying to look at the whole term, right? It depends. Now you put this, then when you have completed this table, you will now get a good sense of understanding of the task that has been administered. That will now help you to go to the next step, which is what I'm going to talk about, the general performance. Now, those that have been completed, what about those that are outstanding? Who are those? Which are those subjects that are outstanding? Now, you do the same activity, you put the subject, and what is the general performance? What percentage? What is outstanding, right? Now, you can now get that information. You can put that information aside because you know the subjects that are outstanding. And this takes us to the next slide. Remember, these templates are just templates that we put out to say it can help you. This is what I have used in different schools, and it has really helped them. So I'm like, why not share it in the webinar to see who this is also going to be useful to? Now, this is what I'm talking about. This template is that template that the principal, the HOD, and the educator per subject has to sit and say, I teach grade 8, 9, or 10. What is my planned content? This is the content that I plan in teaching this learner for the term. Now, at the end of the term, what is the content completion? What is the completion status? Did I finish the content? Am I right to say this is 100%? Or if it's not 100%, it's 90%. Now, what is the reason for this content not to be completed? Is it because the educator was sick? Is it because the educator was went on maternity leave? As the case may be, remember, we are human beings, so life happens, right? So what happened? Or even if you did not complete it, was there a substitute educator that is actually doing that? If it's not, then what are the revised completion date? What are you going to do, right? Are you going to have extra classes to make up the 10% that is outstanding? So this is something that if it's judicially done, if it's done always in schools, if schools must be in the habit of tracking the curriculum coverage, that is the first step of increasing or improving learner performance. Because what that says is whatever I have planned to teach the learners has been done 100%. That is the first step. Now, moving right along, this is another tracker that I've also used in school that I also put out here to say, let's see who is going to use this and how beneficial this is going to use. Let me talk through this tracker here. So this tracker, what this tracker does is still the same thing that I've said, but it's just a different level because we are now including educator attendance. And what we are saying is that if we put the educator, now we put the name of the school, designation of our official, we put the telephone number, you can add any other thing that you feel it's important here, right? Remember, this is just an example. Now, when you put here, you put the name of the educators, the grade that they teach. Now, for syllabus coverage, what is the expected, right? What is the actual, what was done by the end of the term? Now, what is the variance? If you minus this from this, it will give you the variance. Now, the variance is very important because the variance tells you what is outstanding, right? What is outstanding. Now you move to the next one, which is the SBA completion. You do the same exercise, you minus this from this, it gives you the variance. Now, the educator that is supposed to be making sure this is completed is the educator in school. And remember, the data that you're going to be used is also from the dashboard because the dashboard covers the learner attendance and the educator attendance, right? Now we expect educators to be 100% in school now, but we know that life happens. Now, this educator had emergencies and these educators missed school for like maybe 1 or 2 days. Now, when you minus this, you put it in percentage. Now, when you have this variance for educator attendance, you now go back to the class to say, was there a substitute educator, or did learning and teaching stop in the class, right? Now, when you've populated this, remember, you are going to an analysis level. You are gathering information. And remember, this information helps you to come out with your final intervention, final decision making. Remember, we don't make decision thumb sucking. Decision should be influenced by data at the school level. And that is exactly what we are doing. Okay? Moving right along, we have done this analysis. Now, we have looked at the gaps in this analysis that we have done. Now, let's look at the subject. We are now going to this subject profiling, because we've looked at the syllabus, we've looked at the task and all that. Now let's look at the subject performance. But before we go to the subject performance, we want to know, how do we engage, or how do we get to the subject performance? And what is that report that we need to look at in the dashboard? There's a whole lot of reports on the dashboard, but I know that the learner chart report is a report that is widely utilized at the school level nationwide, right? So that's why we are going to be picking that. I'm not saying the learner chart is the only report that can guide us in this exercise, but we are saying this is the report that is widely used. So why not us engage with this, right? So we go straight to the learner chart. But before we do that, let's say, how do we get to the learner chart report on the dashboard? Please, if this is your first time joining the dashboard, you need a username and a password. If you don't know how to get this, please inquire from your provincial office on who is responsible for the DDD Dashboard username and access, right? They would actually refer you, or you can, at the end, you will see the help desk email and phone number. You can call them, they will assist you. But if you have been here and you know the dashboard, kindly just click on the URL name, you type it down, you go straight, you click on log on. Immediately you log on, you put your credentials here, and you now log on. Immediately you log on straight. You are actually landing at your level. So if you're a principal, you land at your school level. If you are a second manager, you land at your second level. If you're a subject advisor, you land at your phase. Are you in GET? Are you in FET? Are you in foundation phase? You land at that phase, right? So immediately you get there, you skip the summary, you click on report. Remember, we are going to the learner chart report because we want to start profiling, right? So you go straight to the report. Under learner achievement, the fourth report, if you count 1, 2, 3, 4, the fourth report is the learner chart. Once you click on the learner chart, this dialog box appears and it tells you the option. These are the options you can download the report, right? You can choose per grade. You can go to all the grade, report mark, pass, report mark, or exam test. You can choose on anything you want here. Now, after doing that, you click on apply. Remember, it depends on what you are analyzing. A principal is analyzing something different from the second manager, because the second manager is analyzing holistically. Right now, the subject advisor is also analyzing differently, because he or she wants to know, how is that subject that I actually support, how is that subject faring? So remember what I said in the beginning, understand the process, not necessarily the parameters or the options that I'm actually using, because the options differs on different level of analysis, right? So moving on to the next slide. Now, once you click on apply, this is what comes down. So this is an overview of the report, the learner chart report. Remember, because of POPI Act, I have actually, we cannot see most of this information. That is why you are seeing them this way, okay? Now, we have seen the report, and we see that this report has different columns, right, of different things there. Now we have the subject, we have the promotion status, we have the name of the learner, we have the accession number, we have different things. So it depends on what are you analyzing, what information are you trying to get from the report. Now, remember, as I said, there's a whole lot of information in this report, and it downloads as an Excel document. For you to be able to drill down to the report or the information that you need, you have to now filter, right? If you are joining us for the first time, I would implore you to go to our YouTube channel and pick a whole lot of topics that we have looked at. We are actually constantly trying to empower our attendees on how to filter, right? And we are actually going to show you here. But if you need more exercise or more, if you need more information about it, please engage with our DDD YouTube channel, or you can wait for this link to be sent to you and go back to the beginning and watch, and you'll be able to get that, right? Now, first of all, once the report is here, and I'm going to show you this on the live report that I also downloaded. So I'm going to show you the slide, and at the end of the slide, I'm going to go live to the dashboard and show you what I have just shown you here again. So the first thing you do when the report is out, you click on the row that has the subnames, right? Make sure everything is highlighted end to end. Immediately you've done that, that is when you are drilling down now to the particular information you want to analyze, right? The next thing, once you have highlighted everything from here, the next thing is you click on data. Immediately you click on data, you click on filter. Now, once you click on filter, what you will see is that there will be this dial, this arrow facing down. In each column, it will just appear. What is it saying? It's saying that all the columns are ready for you to now filter. And why do you need to filter? You need to take information that you are not interested in. You need to take it away so you can drill down and concentrate on information that you are actually using, or information that you want to use to analyze whatever you want to analyze. Now, once this dialog box comes up, now what it's saying is that you can now do what you want to do, analyze what you want to do. Now, imagine if I want to say, I want to look at the information in a school to say, how are the progress learners actually performing in the subject, or how are the promoted learners actually performing? Because we want to track them. We want to track either the progress learner, we want to track either the promoted learner, to make sure that they are consistent, to make sure that at the end of term 4, we don't have more progress learner. Remember, when you keep progressing them, we definitely will now progress them out, and we'll be asking ourselves, did we really assist these learners? And what we're actually doing now are ways of assisting them. Now, we can say, what are the performances of the promoted learner, the progress learners, right? That is why we are actually engaging with the promotion status. We can say, no, we don't want to deal with the promotion status. We want to look at subject performance. Now, a subject advisor might say, no, I want to look at how the subject that I'm supporting is actually performing. Now, he or she drills down, leaves the promotion, goes to the subject. Can we see the different subject? And this is actually color-coded in the rag, that is the red, amber, and the green, right? Which we know that the red is actually learners that are actually failing. The amber is learners that are passing but close to failing. And the green is learners that are actually doing well. We need to be able to know when is the right time to allocate resources to this different level, because we know that most people actually need us of more immediate than the other, right? So we need to actually be able to allocate our time adequately, right? And this is going to assist us. Now, I hope that you can see the different level of analysis. It depends on the level that you are. Please just follow the process. Ignore the options or the parameters that I'm using. Just know the process and what you need to do at different level that you are. Now, remember, as I said also, you can also analyze them based on the color. Now, principal might say, I want to know the subjects performance in my school that learners are actually failing. Now, when he comes here, he clicks on the subject, he does the filtering, and he goes to maybe LO, life orientation. And he says, I want to see only the red colors, those that are failing. He goes there, he clicks this arrow facing down. Once he clicks it, this dialog box shows. He says filter by color, and he clicks only red. Immediately, all this will rearrange to those failing at a red level. Now he's seeing all that. What does he do? He puts the names out. He puts the level that they are passing out. That is an information he's put down. He does the same exercise to get the amber and the green. Now he's known the performances of the learners for that particular subject. Now, what does he do? He goes to the educator that teaches that subject, but we are going there. I don't want to be too fast. We are actually going to the educators at the end of here. Now, after this, you see, you can also select to say, I don't want to filter them by color. I want to filter them on the percentages. Now you can either click on select all and choose any percentage that you want here. I hope that we're understanding this. Remember, if this is too short, you can still go back to the recording and play it again, and then you can follow and keep trying. You know, once you watch a bit, you pause and you try what has been said. That's the only way we can learn. Now we are going to, now the template comes again. The essence of this template, colleague, is just to guide and a place where we can put those numbers that we actually get. Now, this template guide us when we want to analyze, and I hope you will be able to see this template beneficial to you or to what you do. Now, when you talk about subject performance per grade, I also did bring out this template to say, you can also edit this grade, right? And I have put the pass rate that I feel that can assist. But if you say, it depends on what you're tracking in your school. If you say, no, okay, I feel pass rate for 0 to 59 is too high for a red. I want to make it 0 to 50 or 0 to 40. As I said, it depends on what you and the SMT members agree. The SGB, whoever, agree to say, what is our red, what is our yellow, and what is our green. You put that. Remember, there is a pass rate by policy, but most school might say, no, we want to up our game. We want to be that high flyers. You can go and do that. That is fine. Now, what you would do is that you would now put the subject. So you can add a column here and say subjects, okay? Or you can just check by grade. But you can also check by subjects, taking this out and say subjects. Now, there is red, amber, and green. All you need to do is the process that I've just shown you, process of analyzing per subject. You go to it. You can now say, I want to analyze per color, because you remember those colors are actually telling you pass, it's failing, they are passing, but close to failing, and they're actually passing. That's why we have the red, amber, and the green. You put those analysis here. Now you keep that aside. Let's go on. Now, this is actually another template that helps us track the promoted learners. What is their pass percentage? How are they faring? And remember here, we've put the name of the educator, right? Now we go to each of the subject. If this subject does not is not actually done in your school, remember you can edit this template, right? Now you put those subjects here, you put the learner name and the pass percentage, you put the grade and you put the educator's name. Now you do this analysis and then you keep it. Now you know your promoted learners individually. Remember, the principal wants to know, how are my promoted learners? Are they still on track? Are they still going at the rate they're expected to go? Are we seeing them getting promoted at the end of term 4 this year, right? This is one of the steps that you need to do. Now, you might say, I am not interested in, or I have finished analyzing promoted learner. I want to check how my progress learners are actually doing. You use the same template, which is also for the progress learner. Now, remember, when you go to the learner charts, the Excel, you filter and you go straight. Remember when I went to the promotion status? Now, when you go to the promotion status, you deselect all and you select only PG, which is the progressed learner. Now, when you do that and you click select, the whole template will just go to all the progress learners, and you can put the names and you can put the pass percentage. You can also choose, you want to analyze all of them, or you can say, no, I want to analyze progress learners that are offering only hospitality studies or math leads. It depends the subject. So you can do all of them. You can say, no, I want to work on each subject, or I want to work in per subject. Filtering can assist you do all that. Now, see where you are going. I want us to see the big picture. Now, we are actually analyzing this. One, to actually put this intervention at the right time before it gets too late, right? We are doing this to support the learners, to support the educators, right? Because when you support the subject, you are supporting the educator, right? The educator has to actually teach the subject and make sure that these learners are actually performing at an optimal level, right? I know there are actually errors. I mean, there are actually support. There are actually things that you would find out from this analysis. And remember, the analysis is for support. We don't do this to say, oh, educator A is not doing well or learner B is not doing well. No, all the analysis that we do here is how to provide support, adequate support. And when we go to the educator profiling, you would see what I mean when I talk about support. I'm just going to spend just a few seconds here just to talk about this. Now, this is the annual academic report where you actually look at each subject to say which are the subjects that have good performance, right? Let's list those subjects where there were poor performances. What are the reasons? The analysis would have helped you to get the answer here. Now, after we've said what are the reasons for poor performance, we go down because we want to get to the root cause. We say describe challenges contributing towards poor performance. Now, one of the things is that maybe in a subject, select where the problem is. Is it like maybe in geography? Is it map work? In geography. Now, after that, what are the available resources for all learners? What is the extent of this resource utilization? It is not limited to here. We can also add more as the case may be. Okay. Now, we now know how to profile subject, right? Remember, if it's too fast or you don't understand, it's 1 hour, please go back. You will receive the recording, go back step by step and make sure you practice it. It's always said that practice makes perfect. It will make you comfortable. Now, let's go to educator profiling. Remember, as a principal, as a circuit manager, as a subject advisor, you all need to profile your educator. Now, to start educator profiling, we say here on the dashboard, each educator has an individual profile page, which includes 1, qualification, 2, qualification type, 3 is years of experience, 4 is the subject they teach, 5 is the attendance, 6 is the subject they specialize on. I did not put that here. The subject they specialize on, we are actually going to see that, right? Because why do we have to look at the subject they specialize on? And I'm going to tell you, when, you know, most times when I visit schools, and I'm fortunate to visit schools all around the country, right? We have seen when we do this analysis, we find out that maybe educator teaching a particular subject might be totally different from what that educator specialized in or what was their main subject during their qualification years. You find out that it's different. And then you find out this educator is struggling teaching the subject that they teach. I'm not saying this is what is happening in every school, but I'm saying we have seen pockets of this. And this is actually the reason. So if this analysis is done when we can pick out this, and maybe we can actually try to do something about it. Okay. Now, we have also gone to say we have put what we feel, right? This might be different from you, but we are saying this is a guide. We've put what we feel where we classify an educator at risk, a steady performer educator, a top achiever educator. Here it says there's no purpose in recapturing the educator profile on paper when it exists on the dashboard. We are going to look at educator profiling. It is useful, however, to profile the educator responsible for your subject. Use the criteria as defined in the table below. Now, list your educators according to this criteria. That is after you have analyzed. Now, for an educator that is top achievers, I'm just going to talk about this one because of time and I'll move on. Now, for a top achiever, all you need to do is check the subject the educator teaches. Is it plus 80% and above pass rate by the learners, right? That is one of the parameters to be in the top achievers. The second one is the educator attendance. Is it 95% and above, right? 95% and above, right? For educator to sit at the top achiever, and is his task 100% covered and administered? So when you go to the subject on the dashboard, are you seeing 100% task mark captured? Then if you have these parameters right, this educator sits at top achievers level, right? That is how you go to steady performer, go through this, educator at risk, go through this. This helps you to know where your educator sits, right? Now, we go to the next slide. Now, the next slide talks about where you now put those information in more details, right? We are saying, how do we put those information in more details based on at risk? You do this analysis, you put the educator's name and the subject that they teach. You go to the next one, you put the educator's name, the subject that they teach. You go to the top achievers, you put the educator's name and the subject that they teach. Now you can now know how to assist these educators at different levels that they sit. Remember, we all focus on the red ones, the ones at risk, learners at risk, educators at risk, subject at risk. And we always tend to forget about the green one. Remember, if we don't also support them, there is a high responsibility of them going down. Right? So let's know how to share our resources based on the analysis. Let's give support to all these levels as in when due. Remember, each and every one of them needs us at different levels. So we need to understand that, right? So the next thing now that we're actually going to look at is the educator qualification. Now, when we look at the educator qualification, can we see here what we're actually talking about? That we have the educator's name, we have their qualification, the main subjects that they teach, we have the grade, and we have all this information here. We even have the years of experience, which is very important when you analyze, when you profile educators, right? Because it's also believed that you can, not necessarily, and, I don't want to be in the debate where you say, okay, educators that have been longer are more better than those, but I want to believe, right, that experience counts. Experience makes you, do things in a different way than a newbie, someone that just, joined. And also a newbie, also, there's a school of thought that says a newbie also might be coming with a fresh way of doing things, a different idea. But as I said, I'm not going to dwell on that, but this also helps us. Now, remember the main subjects here, and let's look down here, right? Let's look at the educator subject specialization. Now, this is what the educator specializes in. Now, imagine this educator ACG that actually specializes in engineering, graphic, and design. And now this educator comes to a school and is teaching English FAO. Now, imagine what is going to happen. You will find out that learners might be struggling because this educator is not well equipped, not well trained to be teaching English FAO. And we are going to go live to the dashboard. The next thing here is we are looking at the educator, the subject that they teach. Now, once you look at the subject that they teach here, you compare it to the previous slide to say, what is it in line with what this educator is teaching? And remember also, we cannot analyze if this information is not 100%. Now, I have gone to schools. I have done this training on site with principals, with subject advisors, with circuit management. And we find out when we are analyzing, we find out when we go to the school's profile on the dashboard, right? Remember, circuit manager has the schools in his circuit that he actually support. Now, when we start profiling schools, we find out that most of this information, especially educator qualification and educator specialization, the information is actually missing. Now, how do you have a complete analysis when you have missing information? This session would not be complete if we don't talk about missing information. Everyone that is attending this webinar has a responsibility to start talking about data capturing, accurate and complete data capturing, where verification is done at all levels, right? What happens? What is the process from capturing this attendance at the class to the process of getting it to the administrator? Did moderation happen at any point, or was it that it just flew from there to the administrator? We need to make sure that the data was verified, was moderated, and also when captured, there was spot check to make sure that what was captured in the physical document is what is also captured on SSAMs. Okay, now, At the end of all of this, right, we cannot finish this information without saying, what is the action plan? Now, after this, I'm going to the live dashboard now. Now, with all this that I've said, we have found out gaps, variances. Now, what do? We can't just have this analysis done and just fold our hands and or just walk away. No, we need to have an action plan. And the action plan is per subject, per learner, per educator. Now, we are not talking about learner profiling here. We're talking about subject and educator. So it's going to be per educator, which also rubs on, because you cannot analyze a subject without talking to the educator. You cannot analyze an educator, profile an educator without talking about the subject. So they work hand in hand. Now, at the end, we put the educator name here. We say we put the subject first, then we put the educator name, and this is individually, right? So this session is actually done with the principal. The second manager will be there, because remember, that the second manager goes to the subject advisor to say, please, we need your support in subject A or B. Now, this will have the subject advisor, the principal, the educator, the second manager in attendance to say, okay, educator A, what is the challenge? What is the issue? Now, what do we believe the solution is? And when we get this solution, right, this solution must have an action step, which works with the SMART principle. Remember, it must be specific, it must be measurable, it must be attainable, it must be relevant and time-bound. If it's not that, then you cannot measure it. You cannot actually, and remember, what you cannot measure, then, what can you do with it? You definitely need to measure the level of success. Every intervention, every decision, every plan needs to be measurable. And we are saying, who is the responsible person, for this? What is the date? And then the last. Permit me, colleagues, to stop sharing here. I want to stop sharing, and I want to go straight to the dashboard. And the dashboard that I'm going to go is not the main dashboard, it's the dummy dashboard. Permit me to stop sharing here, and I'm going to do some analysis. What I have just spoken now, I want to show you based on what we have just talked about. And I'm going to click here. And this is the dummy dashboard, but remember, for those that have the access, please, you just log on with your credential and then you go in. So I'm going to go straight to a school. And what I'm going to show you is that I'm going to show you straight the educator profiling. Then I'm actually going to go to the subject profiling, where I have pre-downloaded a learner chart report. Now, let's say this is a school's profile, right? We go straight. And this is the educator attendance, right? Now, when we go down, we can see the tab for educator, the tab for learner, but we have clicked here and it's showing us the educators. And remember here, right, we have the educator's name. So as a principal, you'll be able to see the names. I can't see the names because the Puppy Act is actually part of me. And also remember, this is a dummy dashboard, right? Now, the other one is we look at the subject. Remember, make sure, like when you look here, you see this place is empty. That means this educator has not been assigned subject that they teach. So make sure that is assigned. Remember that the value structure is also there to actually make sure that errors are actually corrected and also the information is complete. The value structure and the dashboard checks for completeness and not correctness. Correctness need a physical being to actually perform the verification process to make sure there is correctness there. Okay. Now, the first thing we need to do here on attendance, we need to click for it to sort attendance from lowest to highest. So once we click here, let's go to the first one. Now, from the information we have here, educator A, which is Mary, is the least attended at 60% and teaches English home language. Let's click. Now, what we are doing here is called educator profiling. Okay. Now, with the information, can we see qualification? There's no information captured here, right? Exactly what I'm telling you. Now, this can be captured on SSMs. Let's make sure that it's captured on SSMs because it helps to give us complete analysis when we actually analyze educator profiling. Going down again, can we see the subject specialization subject? Can we see that it's actually captured. This educator specializes in English home language and LO. And let's remember that this educator is teaching English. Now it works with this. Can you see the performance? They're actually performing very well, right? Because what he or she specializes is what they are actually teaching. Can we see the training years? Can we see the teaching years? This needs to be captured also. Most of the time, it is not captured on SSMs. Now, when you come on the dashboard, you would see blank, just like you saw here, because it is not captured on SSM. So as a principal, please let's make sure that this is captured, okay? Not just the work of the principal. As I said, everyone at every designation, let's start speaking that language of data capturing, data completeness, data correctness. Okay, when you visit school, make sure you are speaking to that. Now, when we go down here, now can we see the grade this educator teach? English home language in grade 6 and grade 7. This is how many registered learners for this subject in this grade that is actually performing at this level, right? Now, we look at also, we also expect educators to be in school 100%. But as I said, life happens, right? They might either be sick or any other thing or emergency, this is what it is. So now this educator for term 1 has 60% attendance. Can we see the data completeness there is 100%? It's not saying data correctness. Remember, the value structure does not measure but completeness, and the target that has been set is 95 for educator attendance. Now let's look at those days that this educator is not in school. Now can we see on this day this educator is sick? On this day this educator is sick. In the month of Feb, can we see this educator maternity leave, right? Can we also see maternity leave? Now it's fine, but what you will be asking as a principal or at any level is, was there a substitute educator teaching in place for this educator that is actually on maternity leave, or did learning and teaching stop in class for that period? Also, permit me to stop sharing here as I'm also looking at the time, right? Now, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to call up that report that we are actually talking about. I'm going to call up the report to say, let's look at the report and let's talk about the information that we have just learned. Can we just talk about it now? Now, immediately what I'm going to do now, I'm going to call up a pre-downloaded report. It's the learner chat report, and I'm just going to show us the process of the filter before we now go to the question and answers. Okay, now remember what I said. When you want to profile, you first of all click on the column that has the subnames. You click here, make sure it is highlighted. Can you see? I went to the end to make sure it's highlighted end to end. That is what I said, right? So immediately we do this. What do? There's this font disturbing me here, so I'm just going to make this a bit small here so we can see. So I go to here, insert. So immediately, sorry, when you highlight, you go to data. Now, immediately you click on data, the filter buttons come. Remember, I said when you filter, when you click on filter here, watch this highlighted columns where the headings are. There would be an arrow facing down. Immediately I click it. Let me click it now. Can we see the arrows facing down? Now, what is this arrows telling me? This arrow is telling me that this Excel workbook is ready for me to use in any way deemed fit, right? Now, the first thing, remember I said, I want to check a particular subject before I now go to the promotion status. I want to check progress learners. I want to check promoted learners. But the first thing is you can analyze per learner, right? This is the learner name. You can analyze per learner, right? You can analyze per learner, that is one. You can analyze per promotion status, right? Sorry. You can analyze per promotion status. Here we have 2019, 2020. Let me go to 2019, right? You can click here. And what do I want? I deselect all because I want to choose one. I don't want all. Now, I'm saying I want to look at the progressed learners, all of them, to see how they are faring. I click on progress. Now, watch how the workbook is going to change. The information is going to change. Now, immediately I click on OK. Can we see it has changed? What has it changed to? This is the workbook that I'm working on, column I. Can we see? These are all progress learners. Can we see all of them? Progress learners, then you go to the subject and you analyze. Can you see? You analyze based on them. Or you can say, no, I want progress learners for only those having, green pass rate in creative arts. Then you come here and you say, you deselect, you say sort by color, right? Now, I want just green for the progress learner. Remember, I am checking for progress learners and those actually passing very well for creative arts. Then I click on green. Can we see what it has done? It's now giving me the green ones, right? Now, once you do this, remember to click on filter again to cancel the filtering that you have done. Now, if I want to say, I am only looking for mathematics, right? Now, I want to know how many learners in maths are actually failing. So I want the red. Now I click here and I say sort by color. I only want the red, right? Now I click on this. Remember, this is maths. This is what we are actually working on. Can we see? It shows me the maths one. Can we see? It's the red. This is all we need. And when you go here, you scroll left to go and see the learners' names because it has sought those learners. Now you have the name. You can just click on this, right click, and you copy. Immediately you copy, you paste these names out if you don't want to write. You copy, you right click, and you copy, and you paste it in a fresh Excel document or a Word document, right? Then you can now start looking at it. So you can work on this in several ways. I'm going to stop here, colleagues. Please, if you feel I'm too fast or the time is too short, please watch the video again, or you can actually engage with our help desk. I will stop sharing. Please permit me to stop sharing here, and I'm going back to the slides. So what I want you to do is, sorry, I'm just going back to the slides so we can actually be able to look at the slides. Sorry, I'm just going to take this down and bring the slide up. So what I'm saying here, colleagues, is that the ability for us to be able to profile this. Now, when we profile this, we can actually choose whatsoever we want to profile based on. Now, if you need more training, if you need more support, or you say this is too short, I need to have more support on this, please contact either of our provincial project managers in the provinces. They'll be able to assist you, or you can also connect to our help desk, right? Connect to the help desk, or you can call them to say, I attended this session. I was not clear because it's short, it's 1 hour. I would need a follow-up. They can arrange to say, okay, let's arrange a follow-up, or they can refer you to one of our provincial managers to actually assist you. Also, you can engage with our Triple D YouTube channel, and you would actually be able to go through them and then be able to assist yourself while watching the video. At this point, I would stop. I know time has really gone. Musa, is there any questions?
Thank you, IK, for that very good explanation. There are some questions that have come up, and I think and also there's a colleague who'd like to speak to us live. So while I connect that colleague, IK, would you please respond to the question on how users or how our attendees today can gain access to PI view if they don't have it?
All right, thank you so much, Musa. That question actually came yesterday too. So colleagues, PI view, what is actually PI view? PI view is the personal information, ability for you to have personal information. What is personal information? Personal information means an individual name, an individual surname, an individual email address, an individual phone number. These are personal information. So if you work for a principal now, that you're a principal of a school, you need to see the names of your learners. You need to see the names of your educators, right? With that, you don't need peer review because it's a given that you need those information for your day-to-day activity, right? But maybe you work in finance, right? And you have access to the dashboard. Do you really need the names of the learners in all the school? Do you work with that? So for you to be able to get the PI view, you need to actually get the form, the triple D form that talks about the PI view. You need to feel that your line manager, one, you need to motivate, giving them reason why you need to see individuals, learners, and educators' personal information. Motivate that, right? Then you can submit it to your line manager to sign. After your line manager signs, you give it to the provincial manager that I've just shown you, or you give it to, because there's a designated person in every province that handles that. If you don't know, please call the help desk that I've just shown you. Let me go back to the slide. Call the help desk, call this line, and they will tell you who that person is, right? You can now give it to that person. But remember, if it is not deemed fit that you don't need that, your access will not be granted, because it's for audit purposes to say, do you really need to see learners' information? But if you work directly, if your work it's around that, then you really need it, then the access will be given to you. I had that before, but it was revoked because they said, IK, you don't need to see this information. And my colleagues here, Musa, also is the same thing. He doesn't have it because he does not need to see this personal information. I hope I was clear, Musa. Thank you.
I think you are, I can 100% agree. I also have Trevor Soundy, who had raised their hand during the session. Trevor, if you could just kindly unmute yourself and ask your question. Simply move your cursor to the bottom left of the screen. You'll see an icon there for a microphone. Just click it on and pose your question. Trevor, are you still with us? And maybe IK, while we have Trevor find the mute button there, there was also another question with regards to the grades you've used. You used grade 8 to 12 for your examples. Does that mean that this process can only be done by those grades?
All right, thank you so much, Mo. So, I know that's why it's also good to recap, and it's also good to have the Q&A, because I remember I said it in the beginning that this is the template on this slides. Please, when you receive it, the templates are not static. You can edit them. It's examples. So remember, I said I just used grade 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 as an example. Use the grade that is actually you actually deal with, the grade that is obtainable at your school level. If your grade is just from grade R to grade 7 or 8 to 12, please edit those templates and use them. The essence is that those templates has been used and people are actually seeing benefits using that. That's why I actually brought it here. So you can edit them and reuse them. Thank you.
Agreed, okay. I also have Glenda Rapon. Glenda, I see your mic is already on. Please ask your question.
Yes, thank you, Ike. This was very informative. But I would like to know, or maybe, my thinking is, if the information is not captured on SSMs, then we won't be able to find it on Triple D, right? So my thinking is correct. Eh? So Triple D is driven then or informed by SSMs, right? So I just wanted to make sure if my thinking is correct with that regard. And then the other thing, so it's very frustrating, right? For us to log into Triple D, because like I forgot my password, and the person who used to help us, the guy apparently went to Joburg, and I lost contact for years. So Felicity is the person that we need to, because I'm in the Free State province. Felicity is the person to communicate with in order to gain access again on the dashboard. Thank you for that. Thank you for the opportunity.
Wonderful. Thanks, Glenda. Your assumptions are 100% correct. The entire system is very dependent on SSM data to be captured. And while I find one more question, IK, is there anything else you'd like to add to Glenda's response?
All right, thank you so much, Musa, and thank you so much, Glenda, because I also know that the question you ask is also beneficial to the other colleagues. I'm just going to use just a few seconds to just explain the process. You are right to say that SSAMS is crucial to the success of the information on the DDD dashboard. Colleagues, remember, whatsoever it's not captured or whatsoever it's captured on SSAMS is what you will see on the dashboard. Garbage in, garbage out. We know this terminology. So if you don't capture or you don't capture them completely, that is where you will see missing information on the dashboard. So whatsoever you capture on SSAMS would reflect. If it's missing on the dashboard, definitely it is missing on SSAMS. And Glenn, please, if you cannot contact Felicity, I don't want you to be reliant on one person. If she's not coming through or you actually are delayed, please, you can also contact the help desk. They will support you either by email or phone call. They will definitely support you. Reset your password, then you can actually engage with the DDD. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, IK. And colleagues, I do again want to remind us of the polls. If you have lost the view to the polls at the bottom of your screen, you'll see the polls button there. Please click it and answer our polls. It's sitting at 67%. We would appreciate to hear from everyone. The last questions that are remaining are around receiving the recording. Colleagues, by virtue of you being present on this meeting, it means that at the end of the session, no later than 24 hours after the session, we will then send to you the recording and also the materials that have been used. IK, anything that you would like to add? Because at this point, I don't see any more questions. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Musa. At this point, I don't have anything to add. I'm just full of gratitude for the attendees joining this session. Colleagues, one part of me is happy that you joined, but the other part will be more happy if what we learned here is actually implemented in our day-to-day activity. So my humble request to you is please practice what you have learned here. Remember, we are here to serve you. If you are not understanding, reach out to us, reach out to the help desk, engage with our platform, our learning platform, engage with the YouTube, engage with the pack that is going to be sent to you. And if you still struggle, you need support, please engage to the help desk to say you need more of this. And we are here, we will definitely support you. From my side, thank you so much and have yourself a blessed weekend. Musa?